With Kevin Feige announcing most of the Phase 6 lineup for the MCU, we finally got a bit of direction in where we're going to see Kang the Conqueror in all his glory. But what if I told you that Kevin Feige actually announced the MVP of the Multiverse Saga without even saying his name? Hear me out, because this theory is a doozy. Doctor Doom will be the greatest multiversal hero of the MCU, dwarfing all other heroes. Stan Lee once said that Doctor Doom was not a villain because he wanted to rule the world. He truly thought he could rule over everyone in the most fair way, with a prosperous utopian society under his rule. Doom even proves this when he saves the world from Purple Man, takes his powers, and uses it to create a utopia without freedom, but without crime, prejudice, war, or persecution. The Avengers eventually stop Doom, but even they question if they should have altered the world back into the chaos without the rule of Doctor Doom. Phase 6 dropped the next two Avengers movies, The Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Just in case you aren't familiar with the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, Doctor Doom saves the multiverse when all other heroes have failed and are just trying to save themselves from the incursions and the multiverse imploding on itself. It's Doom's will, determination, and pure badassery in the eyes of multiversal annihilation that saves everyone's skin. How, you might ask? Doom travels the multiverse and recruits Molecule Man, who is like reality warping hacks times 1,000, builds an entire trans-dimensional religion based on himself, foils the Beyonders' plans, and then takes countermeasures and finally wipes out the entire race of omnipotent beings, ending the threat forever. You thought Iron Man and Hulk saving the universe was epic? Doom saves the entire multiverse, becomes its new multiversal god, and still finds it beneath him. So how does all this pertain to Kang in the Phase 6 announcements? We see that the Fantastic Four is slated to come out right before Avengers Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. And it's also rumored that Doctor Doom will make a after credit scene in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but it's still to be determined. Kang's conquest to rule over the multiverse will likely take an MCU spin, as it always does, to replace the Beyonders' involvement from that Secret War storyline. And I'm going to hold Arishem the Judge's final words in the Eternals to Feige and the writers of the MCU so that the people of Earth save the multiverse. If you remember, Arishem the Judge says, "You have chosen to sacrifice the Celestial for the people of this planet, and I will spare them, but your memories will show if they are worthy to live, and I will return for judgment." When taking the themes of Thor Love and Thunder and Arishem's words to Cersei's in the Eternals, how poetic would it be for a human to surpass the gods, save the multiverse, and proving that sparing Earth is the ultimate way to save the entire multiverse? And that's the embodiment of Doctor Doom's character. A man who thinks himself above the gods, but actively holds himself to that standard so no one else can say otherwise. In Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, we're going to see some hardcore Kang scenes that are instantly going to become MCU classics. Everything that is set up in this film will have rippling effects that lead into Avengers Kang Dynasty and shake up the MCU in the same way that Infinity War did. This will be the first time that villains and heroes alike will have to join together to fight something bigger than themselves. While Doom would absolutely hate having to work with other people, he would understand his importance in such an event and would probably end up saving everyone. The kicker is when Doom finally defeats Kang in a multiversal brawl in a Secret War event that eventually leads to everyone having to fight Doom, enter God Emperor Doom. Empowered by the abilities of Kang, which would probably serve as a substitute for Molecule Man in the 2015 Secret Wars storyline if they don't introduce him in the MCU, Doom could rule over Battleworld and set a new world order for the multiverse, serving as the new He Who Remains and create a new Doom-ruled Sacred Timeline universe with no incursions threatening this sacred timeline. To make this theory perfect is if the world was a utopia, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and Phase 7 kicking off with a man who became more than a god, and that being the new moral dilemma of the MCU heroes. Do they try to fight an all-powerful Doom ruling in a utopian multiversal society, or do they let the utopian society continue knowing that it is very prosperous but at the rule of one man? This next point is very important. The MCU has an issue with one-off villains. The comics make it interesting because villains can come back anytime and play with the character growth from previous stories. The MCU killed off Thanos, who would have been an interesting character to know is always out there and could always become a problem again. Loki is one of the only villains in the MCU that we've kept around, and look how beloved he is now. Now imagine they're able to do this with Doctor Doom. He can never really be killed or locked away. He's always able to take refuge in Latveria and come back in bigger stories to come, especially when you know what Doom's real goals are. What is the name of the character that everyone has been looking for in the MCU these past 4 phases? Mephisto. Do you know who makes Mephisto look like a clown every time they come into contact with each other? Doom. Victor really wants his mother saved from hell. That is the overall goal that Doom has sought out from the beginning, and it's why he became who he is. So how great would it be to see Mephisto have such a hold on a character that we just established is a multiversal hero that has the will and the cunning to defeat anybody. That's how you get a character like Doctor Doom to stick around. Don't just portray him as an evil villain that can be defeated in one movie. Make his presence known not only to his world, but the multiverse worlds. Have his story be sympathetic enough to see where he comes from, but also moral questions like why should we fix a utopian society just because we think Doom is a bad guy? What Doom does is evil, but he finds it necessary. And what MCU villain have we seen that done so well before? Kang might be set up to be the new big bad of the Multiversal Saga, but Doom will always reign supreme. What better way to introduce a badass character to the MCU than have him save the multiverse by himself with no other hero to stand up to the threat, which leads to the worship of Doom's power, making him a long-lasting villain in the MCU in phases to come. I would love to know your thoughts about this theory in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to join the Dork Side so you don't miss that next-gen console giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. And make sure you check out this video about how to fix Phase 4 of the MCU so we do get to see Doom in his prime. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.